The challenge of bonding begins. The great halls of Nirthala were silent. Banners of old kings waved gently in the soft wind that entered through the tall glass arches. Golden armor, crystal swords, and ancient artifacts stood on display, but none of them could hide the tension in the room. On the throne, Queen Iravel sat tall. Her eyes were sharp but tired. Beside her stood her only daughter, Princess Silari, wearing a silver mask that covered her face completely. Her long black hair flowed down her back, and her hands stayed folded in front of her. Her voice had not been heard since childhood. Today was the bonding day. In the ancient customs of Nirthala, a royal heir must form a soul bond with a warrior, not just for marriage but to unlock the power that protected the kingdom. It was said that only when two souls connect deeply could the true throne be claimed. But no warrior had stepped forward. 10 had already refused. "I cannot bond with someone who hides her face," said the 11th warrior, a tall general with 3 glowing eyes. "How can I trust what I cannot see?" He stepped back. The line grew shorter. Princess Silari did not react. Her mask stayed still, but inside her, her heart beat faster. She could hear the whispers. She knew what they all thought. Why won't she show her face? Is she cursed? Is she hiding something horrible? No one knew that behind the mask. Her skin carried strange blue marks, the result of a rare illness that once almost killed her as a child. The marks did not hurt, but they made her different. Her people believed beauty showed strength. The marks were seen as weakness. So, she wore the mask since the age of 8. As the last warrior in line stepped forward, silence fell again. He looked at her once and then shook his head. "I refuse." Gasps filled the hall. Queen Iravel closed her eyes. Shame fell over the throne. A voice rose from the crowd. "This is a curse. The royal line ends today." But before the queen could speak, a new voice cut through the silence. "I will bond." All eyes turned. The voice did not belong to any alien warrior. It was a human. He stood near the back wearing simple gray armor with scratches on the chest. His short brown hair moved in the wind from the open gate. His name was Commander Elias Kane, a peace envoy from Earth, sent to observe the bonding ritual. He stepped forward calmly. Queen Iravel narrowed her eyes. "You are not of our people. Why would you step where our finest refused?" Elias looked at the queen, then at Silari. "Because you don't need eyes to see truth, and you don't need a face to feel a soul." Murmurs filled the air. Many aliens laughed, some in anger, others in disbelief. "A human?" one of them shouted. "This is madness." Elias ignored them. He walked slowly toward the princess, stopping only a few feet away. "I don't know what's behind your mask," he said softly, "and I won't ask. But I know pain. I know fear. I know what it means to hide." His voice shook slightly. Memories came to him. His wife, years ago, who had hidden her past from him until it was too late. The betrayal had shattered his trust. But here, now, he chose differently. Silari tilted her head. No one had ever said those words to her before, not even her own mother. Elias raised his hand, not to touch, but to offer. "If you want, I will bond." For a moment, nothing happened. And then, slowly, Silari raised her own hand. The mask still covered her face, but her fingers trembled slightly as she touched the side of her head. With one motion, the silver mask began to slide off. The hall went silent, breathless. Just before the final reveal, the great doors slammed open behind them. A voice boomed across the chamber. "Stop this nonsense." A tall alien warrior stormed in. Prince Valcor, cousin to Silari. His armor shined with golden spikes and his face showed clear rage. "This human dares to touch the royal line?" he shouted. "This is an insult to our blood." Guards rushed forward, but Queen Iravel raised her hand to stop them. "Let him speak." Valcor pointed at Elias. "If you allow this bonding, you spit on every tradition we hold sacred." Elias turned calmly. "Maybe your tradition needs change. Solari took a deep breath, and then, in front of everyone, she removed the mask. Gasps echoed. Some stepped back in shock. Her face was beautiful, but different. Glowing blue marks traced down from her eyes to her jaw. Her eyes were bright, filled with emotion. She did not smile, but she did not cry either. Elias looked at her and didn't flinch. He only said, "You're extraordinary." Tears formed in Solari's eyes, for the first time in her life. Someone meant it. Queen Iravel stood, and her voice was quiet, but strong. Let the bonding trial begin. The face behind the mask. The storm outside palace walls was nothing compared to the storm inside Princess Solari's heart. When she removed her mask in front of the entire royal court, the silence felt like knives. But she did not flinch. Not when the blue glowing marks on her skin were exposed. Not when the nobles looked away in discomfort. Not even when her mother avoided her gaze. But one man had not looked away. Elias Kane. The human soldier stood beside her, his expression calm, unshaken, even respectful. And now, as the guards led them into the ancient bonding chamber, Solari glanced at him from the corner of her eye. She had trained all her life to never trust, never show emotion, but something in this human's eyes, something made her shields crack. Deep inside the palace, the bonding chamber glowed with soft white light. The walls were covered in old symbols telling the stories of kings and queens who had bonded with warriors before. In the center of the chamber sat two silver chairs facing each other, and between them hovered a small orb of shifting light, the soul mirror. The bonding ritual was not about love or looks. It was about truth. The soul mirror would read their minds and memories. It would test the strength of their emotions. And if the bond was real, it would light up with fire. If the bond failed, it would explode. Queen Iravel gave them one look before turning away. If either of you lies, the soul mirror will know. Solari sat first, her hands rested in her lap. Her breathing was slow. Elias sat across from her. His fingers were still bandaged from an old battle. His eyes met hers with quiet strength. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice soft. It was the first time she had spoken directly to him. "Yes," he said. "Even if I'm not, I came here to find something true. I think I found it." The soul mirror began to glow. It pulled their thoughts gently, slowly, like wind lifting threads of silk. And then, they both fell into memory. Solari was 9 years old. She lay on a stone bed, shaking. Her body burned with fever. Healers whispered in corners. Her face was turning blue. Her mother wept but stayed outside the chamber. No one came near her. No one touched her. She heard them say, "She is ruined. She cannot be queen now." She cried alone in the dark. Elias saw it all. His heart broke. Then his memory pulled her, and he was 17. He stood in the rain holding a picture of a woman, his wife. She had left him when he discovered her secret past. She had never told him who she truly was. "You said you loved me," he whispered to the night. "But you lied." He punched a wall until his knuckles bled. Solari saw it all. She looked at him now inside the soul mirror. "We both have scars," she said. "But yours are beautiful," Elias whispered. "They tell a story." The soul mirror flared golden. A perfect bond had not formed yet, but it was close. Then, suddenly, a shadow entered the memory. Dark, cold energy. The mirror shook. Solari's body froze. A presence had entered her mind that did not belong. A spy. Someone was using forbidden tech to slip inside her thoughts. Images flashed. A black blade, a red eye, the burning of the throne room, her mother screaming, and Elias dead on the floor. Solari screamed. The bond broke. She gasped and fell out of the chair. Elias caught her before she hit the ground. Guards rushed in. The soul mirror dimmed. The air smelled like burning metal. "What happened?" Queen Iravel asked, rushing forward. "Someone is watching," Solari said, clutching her chest. Someone is inside the mirror, trying to sabotage the bond. The queen froze. That's impossible. Only the two bonded minds can... Not anymore. Elias interrupted. Not if someone inside your own council gave access to an outsider. The queen's face went pale. Who would dare? A deep laugh echoed from the corridor. It was Prince Valcor. He stepped into view, smiling with sharp white teeth. You should not play with humans, he said. They are too weak to survive the throne's truth. He turned and left, but Solari's eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. Valcor had touched the soul mirror once, years ago. His bond had failed, and now he feared her success. Later that night, Solari stood on the balcony of her chamber watching the twin moons rise. Elias stood beside her silent. Do you regret it? She asked. No, he said. You? She didn't answer right away. When I removed the mask, she said finally, I thought I would lose everything. Instead, I felt free. He looked at her, his voice low. You're not alone anymore. A faint smile touched her lips. Then suddenly, a flash of movement, a blade flew through the air, aimed straight for Elias. Solari screamed and shoved him aside. The blade missed by inches, embedding into the stone wall. A figure disappeared, into the shadows below. Someone just tried to kill you, Elias said, eyes scanning the night. Solari looked down at the weapon. It was laced with red poison, royal poison. They're not just trying to stop the bond, she said. They're trying to erase you from this world. Betrayal in the Garden of Lights. The Garden of Lights was once a place of peace, where royal lovers made their promises, where warriors swore their oaths, and where the wind carried the songs of the stars. But tonight, the silence in the garden felt dangerous. Small glowing plants lit the narrow stone paths and strange flowers pulsed with blue and white light. Between the trees, shadows moved like whispers. Princess Solari walked beside Elias, her steps slow, her hands folded. She wore a simple silver robe now, no longer her royal dress, no longer her mask. Her face was still marked by the glowing blue patterns, but she no longer hid them. Elias, wearing lightweight training armor, stayed alert. His instincts told him something wasn't right. The blade thrown at him the night before had not been an accident. Someone wanted him dead, someone close. And yet Solari had insisted they walk here alone. If we fear shadows, she had said, we become them. As they reached the heart of the garden, Solari sat on a smooth stone bench under a tree with crystal-like branches. She touched the petals of a flower that responded to her warmth and began to hum softly. This place, she whispered, was where my mother bonded with my father. Before war, before sickness, before masks. Elias sat beside her. Do you ever wish you could go back? He asked. Solari looked up at the sky. Sometimes. But I've learned that scars are part of the road forward. If you erase them, you erase who you are. Elias nodded. I used to think pain made me weak. Now I think it makes us real. For a moment, their bond glowed again, soft and quiet like a flame not yet ready to burn. But in the distance, footsteps echoed, too fast, too heavy. Elias stood up instantly. We're not alone. 3 warriors stepped into the clearing, not guards, not friends. They wore black ceremonial armor, marked with the symbol of the High Council. At the front stood Lord Drenkar, Solari's cousin by blood, and one of the council's youngest leaders. His face held no smile, only cold judgment. You have crossed the line, cousin, Drenkar said. The bond with this human must be undone. Solari stood slowly. The council has no right to interfere. The throne calls for a true soul bond, not a perfect face or pure blood. The throne calls for loyalty, Drenkar snapped. You bring a stranger into our minds, into our sacred bond, someone who could betray us from within. Elias stepped between them. I came to protect, not to betray. Then protect yourself now, Drenkar growled. and in one flash, he drew a short blade from his robe and charged forward. Elias blocked the first strike with his arm guard, sparks flying into the glowing grass. The other two warriors rushed in, circling around Solari. "Don't hurt her," Elias shouted, but Solari didn't wait. With a sharp breath, she called on her inner force. The ancient bloodline power passed through her mother's side, her hands lit with a pale blue flame. With a sweep of her arm, she knocked one warrior back into the trees. Elias ducked a second strike, grabbed Drenkar's arm, twisted it, and sent him crashing into a pillar of crystal vines. Drenkar's blade skidded across the ground. "Enough!" Solari shouted. Her voice shook the leaves. For a moment, everyone froze. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, breathing hard. Drenkar sat up, wiping blood from his mouth. "Because I see what others refuse to see. That this human is the beginning of your end." Solari walked toward him, her hands trembling now. "No, he is the beginning of my truth." Drenkar laughed bitterly. "Your truth will destroy our bloodline. And maybe that is what they want." "They?" Elias asked. Drenkar looked up at him. "You think you're the only outsider involved? Your presence is just one piece of a larger design." He tapped his wristband. A hologram appeared, a list of names: alien, human, and unknown. "What is this?" Solari asked. "A hidden network," Drenkar said. "A group planning to overthrow the entire royal system. They're using the bond to unlock something ancient, something buried deep under the palace." Before Solari could respond, the hologram glitched. A signal was being jammed. From behind the garden walls, a new shadow appeared. Taller, faster, unarmed, an assassin in white robes. No words, only movement. He leapt toward Solari, a flash of red in his hand, a blade again. But Elias moved quicker. He pushed Solari aside and took the blade to his shoulder. He collapsed to one knee. Blood stained the stone path. The assassin vanished into smoke. Guards finally arrived, too late. Solari held Elias in her arms, tears falling down her glowing cheeks. "Stay awake," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere," he groaned. Drenkar, now surrounded, lowered his head. "This is bigger than all of us. You have no idea what they're really after." Queen Iravel appeared behind the guards, her face pale. "Get the healer. Now." Solari looked up at her mother. "You knew, didn't you?" The queen didn't answer, but in her silence, the truth hung heavy in the air. Later, in the healing chambers, Elias lay asleep, his arm wrapped in white bandages. Solari sat beside him, watching the machines hum softly. She had thought betrayal would break her again, but this time it had awakened something else. Resolve. Outside the chamber, Drenkar had been arrested, but the real enemy was still out there, hidden, waiting, using the ancient bond ritual to open something buried for centuries, something even the throne feared. Solari held Elias's hand gently. "I'll protect you now," she whispered. "Whatever they're trying to unlock, I'll find it first." The forbidden moon darkness spread across the stars like spilled ink. A massive warship hovered in orbit above a cracked and lifeless moon known only by one name, Kainor, the Forbidden Moon. Once a colony, it was erased from maps after a failed rebellion. Now only silence remained. But deep below its dead surface, hidden tunnels glowed with stolen energy. Machines hummed and voices whispered. In the center of it all, chained to a stone chair, sat Elias Kane. His eyes were half open, his body bruised. His wounds from the garden fight had been reopened. The poison from the assassin's blade had weakened him. But something stronger than pain kept him breathing. A memory. Solari's voice calling his name, her hand on his chest, her promise. "I'll protect you now." A sudden pulse went through his mind, like a voice without words. He closed his eyes. Even here, across space, the bond was still alive. Far away in the capital of Nyrthala, Solari sat alone in the ancient Chamber of Echoes, a secret room beneath the palace, built centuries ago for the original queens to enter trance and connect across dimensions. Her hands hovered over a bowl of clear liquid that shimmered with her own blood. "Show me where he is," she whispered, but the water stayed still. "Please." Her voice cracked. "Show me." Finally, the surface rippled, and a broken image appeared, Elias chained, surrounded by figures in black. Her heart stopped. But behind the image, a symbol glowed, a circle with 3 lines, the mark of Kainor. A moon that didn't exist anymore. She stood, blood dripping from her fingertips. "I'm going after him." The Royal Council refused to help. "Kainor is a dead place," one of the elders said. "It would be suicide to enter." But Solari didn't care. That night, she broke every law her ancestors created. She stole an old stealth ship, disguised herself as a traitor, and left the capital under shadow. No guards, no lights, only her bond and rage. Meanwhile, deep beneath Kainor, a voice spoke to Elias from the shadows. "You don't know what you are," said the figure. Elias looked up weakly. "Just a soldier." "No." The figure stepped closer. His face was hidden behind a golden mask. "You are the key." "To what?" "To the gate under the throne," Elias coughed. "What gate?" The masked figure leaned in. "Centuries ago, your kind touched a force we thought was lost. You are not just bonded to the princess. You are bonded to something older, something powerful." Elias tried to laugh, but it hurt. "You're insane." The man placed a device on Elias's forehead. A flash of memory hit him. Not his own. A place beneath the palace. A gate sealed with alien runes. A voice saying, "This gate must never open unless the bonded flame burns strong." Elias gasped. The device glowed. The masked figure whispered, "You are part of something greater, and soon, she will unlock it for us." Solari landed on Kainor under a storm of meteor dust. The air was thin. Her ship's systems started to fail, but she moved forward, walking into the ruins alone. No map, no guards, just a single feeling pulling her forward. The bond. She followed it like a thread in the dark. Below, alarms blared. Guards shouted, "She's here!" "The bond is active," the masked figure laughed. "Let her come. Let them complete it. Then the gate will open for us." Solari found the tunnel entrance hidden beneath broken statues. As she stepped into the underground network, her mind filled with Elias's pain, his heartbeat, his fear, his name. "I'm close," she whispered. As she entered the chamber, she saw him, chained, eyes closed. For one horrible second, she thought he was dead. "Elias!" She ran to him, his eyes opened. "You came..." Before she could free him, the lights turned red. Dozens of guards stepped in. The masked figure entered slowly. "You have done well, princess," he said. "You followed the bond, just as we hoped." Solari turned, fire in her hands. "Let him go." "You don't understand," the masked figure said calmly. "Your bond is not love. It is the final key. Together, you can open what no one else can. The gate hidden beneath your throne. The gate to the origin of all power." "We won't help you," Solari said. "You already are," he smiled. "The bond is complete." He activated a device. A beam of light shot from Elias's chest into Solari's, and back again. Their eyes glowed, not just blue now, but gold. They screamed together, not in pain, in release. The chamber shook, and somewhere far away, beneath the palace of Nirthala, a buried gate began to open. Later, the moon exploded in a controlled blast. Solari carried Elias on her shoulders into the escape pod, both barely alive. As the pod flew into orbit, Elias whispered, "What did they make us open?" Solari looked down, her voice shaking. "I don't know." She looked toward the stars. "But we have to stop it." Memory of the bond. The stars looked peaceful outside the ship's cracked window, but inside the escape pod, everything was chaos. Elias lay unconscious, his body still glowing faintly from the bond. His chest rose slowly, uneven. Small sparks of gold energy moved across his skin, tracing lines like a forgotten map. Princess Solari sat beside him, her hands glowing soft blue, trying to calm the bond, trying to heal him. But it wasn't working. "Stay with me?" she whispered. "Please, you said you wouldn't go anywhere." But deep inside Elias's mind, something had pulled him away. In his dream, he stood in a field of red grass under a pale yellow sky. Birds circled above, but made no sound. It was quiet, too quiet. He saw a child. It was him, younger, laughing, running. Then the sky darkened. A gate rose from the ground, black and ancient, pulsing with gold symbols. The child stopped running, turned, stared. A voice echoed. "You were chosen before you were even born." Elias looked around. "Who are you?" The gate shook. A figure stepped out, tall, thin, with glowing hands and no face. The same figure from the forbidden moon, the one who had tortured him. But now it wore no mask, because it had no face at all, just light. It spoke again. "You are the bridge, human, the firekeeper. She is the flame, but only you can hold the gate open." "I don't want this," Elias said. "I never did." The voice grew louder. "The bond you formed was not by chance. It was by design." Elias fell to his knees. Memories poured into him, not just his, but hers. Solari as a child crying in the healer's chamber. Solari standing alone during royal dinners, watching others dance while she stayed masked. Solari, touching her. Own face in the dark, wondering if anyone would ever say she was enough. He saw all of it. He felt all of it. And then he saw the memory she had never shown him. A secret chamber. Stone walls. Her mother, Queen Iravel, speaking to 3 cloaked figures. "Is the firekeeper alive?" the queen asked. "Yes," one cloaked figure said, "but only through the human line. And the flame? She will awaken when she meets him. The bond must be formed. If it fails, the gate will open for those who are not ready. And if it succeeds, then the power remains safe." Elias opened his eyes. He was back in the pod. Solari still held his hand, her head resting on the side of the seat. She looked exhausted. "You saw it too," he said weakly. Her eyes opened, wide with shock. "What?" she whispered. "How do you know?" "The memory. Your mother. The prophecy." Solari sat up straight. Her voice was quiet. "I never meant to hide it." "You didn't," he said. "Someone blocked it. But now, I remember." They stared at each other. The bond between them no longer pulsed gently. It was now a storm waiting to be released. Meanwhile, back on Nirthala, the ancient gate under the palace had fully awakened. Hidden beneath layers of stone, buried for over 1,000 years, it now glowed with golden light and whispering energy. No one could approach it without being thrown back. It had formed a psychic barrier, connected to Elias and Solari. Only they could cross it. The royal council argued endlessly. "They must return," one said. "No," another snapped. "They're the reason it opened. It's a trap." Queen Iravel sat quietly. She had known this day would come. Back in orbit, Solari and Elias landed in a hidden zone near the capital. They moved silently through the underground tunnels toward the palace. Not as royalty, not as soldiers, but as 2 souls burning with questions. As they walked, Solari finally spoke. "I saw your memory," she said. "Which one?" "Your wife. The day she left." Elias nodded slowly. "She lied to me. About everything. Her name, her past, her child." "You loved her," Solari said. "Yes. And she broke it." "Do you trust me?" she asked. Elias looked into her eyes. "Yes. Even if it kills me." She didn't answer, but she held his hand tightly. They reached the gate. The council waited. The queen stood beside it. The gate pulsed, sensing them. "Only you two may enter," the queen said. "None of us can follow." Solari turned to her mother. "Why didn't you tell me who I was?" The queen looked away. "Because you had to choose the bond yourself. Only then would it be real." Elias and Solari stepped forward. As they passed the threshold, the energy dropped. The whispers stopped, and the gate opened. Inside was not a room. It was a world, a pocket dimension made of memories, light, and time. Inside, a single throne hovered in the center, made of stone, fire, and gold. On it sat a figure. Not alive, not dead. A guardian. He opened his eyes slowly. "You have arrived," he said. "What is this place?" Elias asked. "This is the heart of your bond. This is where souls are forged into stars." Solari stepped forward. "What do you want from us?" "To choose," the guardian said. "Either destroy the bond to seal the gate forever, or embrace it fully and accept what comes after." "What comes after?" Elias asked. "War," the guardian said, "not just of weapons, but of truth." Elias looked at Solari. She looked back, and without a word, they both stepped onto the throne platform. The bond lit around them, gold, blue, and white, fusing into one flame, and far away, on unknown worlds. Others woke up, because the firekeeper and the flame had made their choice. Judgment of the crown, the throne room of Nirthala had never seen such silence. Thousands of eyes watched from the crystal balconies above, as two figures walked down the central path toward the High Council. Princess Solari walked in front, her robe glowing faintly with the energy of the bond. Elias Kane walked beside her wearing no armor, just a plain black tunic, his chest marked with gold symbols that had appeared after the gate opened. The soul flame of their bond was now permanent, visible, alive, and everyone could feel it. The air around them pulsed like a heartbeat. The queen stood behind the council table, her face unreadable. Next to her sat the elders, the judges, and those who had once called Solari unfit to rule. Lord Drenker, still recovering from his arrest, watched with narrowed eyes. "You have returned from the gate," one elder spoke, "and now you carry power that should not exist. Do you deny this?" Solari spoke calmly. "I deny nothing. The bond was not created by us. It was awakened." "Then why?" another elder asked. "Do we sense danger in your flame?" Elias stepped forward. "Because something else came through the gate. Something followed us." Gasps spread like fire through the crowd. "You mean something crossed over?" the queen asked. "Not fully," Solari said. "But it's trying. The bond kept it sealed, but it's growing stronger." "Then you are a threat," Drenkar shouted. "Both of you. Destroy the bond, seal the gate forever." Solari's eyes narrowed. "You want the bond destroyed because you know what truth it brings." "Truth?" Drenkar laughed. "You brought a human into the royal bloodline. Your emotions have made you weak." But before Solari could reply, Elias raised his hand. "Let me speak." The hall fell silent. "I am not of your blood," he said. "But I have seen what your own council has hidden. I saw it inside the gate. The bond was not created for love or rule. It was created to protect something greater than any throne." "And what is that?" one judge asked. "A weapon," Elias said. A cold wind passed through the chamber. "What kind of weapon?" the queen asked, her voice suddenly tense. "Not a machine," Solari answered. "A being." "Alive?" "Yes," Elias said. "And sleeping." For now. Murmurs exploded across the balconies. The queen stepped forward. "You saw this yourself?" "Not just saw," Solari said. "Felt, inside the bond, something ancient, full of anger. It called itself Ashturath, the last flame eater. The name hadn't been spoken in over 3,000 years. It was the name of a creature that once consumed worlds. erased stars, and fed on light. The council had no answer. Then, without warning, the floor shook, a tremor. The fire lamps dimmed. A guard rushed into the hall, his voice breathless. "There's been an explosion in the lower chambers." The Queen turned sharply. "What kind of explosion?" "It came from the bond chamber, Your Majesty. Someone tried to destroy it." "Who?" Solari asked, but the guard didn't answer, because at that moment the doors slammed open and 5 soldiers dragged in a struggling figure. His robe was torn. His hands burned. The Queen gasped. It was the High Archivist, the keeper of all royal history, the one trusted with guarding the ancient secrets. "He planted the bomb," the guards shouted. "He tried to collapse the chamber." The archivist laughed, eyes wild. "You fools, don't you see? The gate must never stay open. The bond is a curse, the creature is coming, and you brought it here." Solari stepped toward him. "Why did you lie to us?" "Because we failed once before," he whispered. 3,000 years ago, another flame was born. We sealed it, buried the truth. But the bloodline lived, and now the fire has returned. Elias clenched his fists. "You were supposed to protect this world, not hide from it." "I did what was needed," the archivist hissed, "but now it's too late." The council demanded silence. "Enough," the Queen said. "We will decide now." One elder declared, "You two will face the test of truth." Moments later, Elias and Solari stood inside the trial dome, a crystal chamber that read every heartbeat, every thought, every fear. If they lied, it would shatter. The judge's voice echoed. "Do you stand by your bond?" "Yes," Solari said. "Yes," Elias added. The dome pulsed blue. "Do you believe your bond can protect this world from the ancient flame?" "We believe it must," Solari said. The dome glowed gold. "Do you accept the burden of the gate, knowing it may cost your life?" they answered together. "Yes." The dome burst into white light, and then dissolved, not in shards, but in light. The judges stood in awe. "It has never done that before," one whispered. "Because it has never met a bond like this," the Queen said softly. But far below, in the deepest corner of the palace, the broken gate cracked once more. Whisper escaped. A promise. "I see you, flame and fire keeper. I will rise through you." That night, Solari stood on the balcony with Elias. The world cheered them, but neither smiled. "What do we do now?" Elias asked. Solari looked at the stars. "We prepare," she said. "For what?" She turned slowly. "For the war of light and shadow." Rise of the bonded flame. The stars above Neerthala shifted. Moons trembled in their orbits. Comets paused, mid-flight, as the gate pulsed beneath the palace, not with light but with something older, something darker. The entire planet felt it. Ashturath had awakened. Not fully, not yet, but the whispers were no longer whispers. They were voices, they were commands, and they were spreading. In the capital, people started seeing shadows, in reflections that were not their own. Children cried in sleep, speaking in a language no one taught them. Old priests collapsed in the streets, their hearts burned from within. And in the great throne hall, where Princess Solari now sat beside Queen Iravel, the air grew heavy with silence. A message had just arrived, not from space but from the gate itself. A single phrase burned into the minds of every soul sensitive to the bond. "Bring the fire to me, or I will come to it." Elias stood in the training grounds, practicing alone. Each swing of his blade cut through the thick night air. But it wasn't enough. He could feel the power growing inside him. Power born not from strength, but from connection. The bond with Solari had changed him, made him more than human. His bones hummed with golden light. But it frightened him. "I was never meant to be this," he whispered. Solari approached from the shadows. She wore armor unlike anything seen before, forged from old royal steel, and infused with the soul mirror's light. Neither was I, she said. Do you think we can stop it? Elias asked. Solari didn't answer at first. She simply reached out, took his hand, and together they felt the bond pulse. Not just between them. Across the world. The people were beginning to feel it too. The flame. Not a weapon, a spark. But while the flame spread among the innocent, so did the shadow. In the outer colonies of Nirthala, cities were already falling. Not to armies, not to ships, but to whispers. Ashturath did not fight with blades. He fought with doubt. Warriors betrayed commanders. Families turned on each other. Truth collapsed into fear. And as Solari and Elias stood before the High Council once more, the final question was asked. What do you choose? To run? To seal the gate again? Or to face him? Solari answered first. We choose to burn. The chamber of the gate opened for them alone. No guards, no queen, no council, just the two who had formed the bonded flame. The gate stood taller than ever, its surface now cracked, leaking golden fire and black smoke. The voices within had shape, now. Ancient beings trapped for eternity, awakened by the power of the bond. And then, he stepped through. Ashturath. His form was not like anything ever seen. Not beast, not man, not God. He was made of shadow and bone, light and hunger. His eyes were black holes rimmed with red lightning. His voice was not sound, but feeling. You were born of me, he told them. You carry my spark. Elias stepped forward. No, we carry the bond. Ashturath laughed, and the palace cracked. Then burn with it. He raised a hand, and the hall shattered. A blast of dark fire hit them. But instead of running, Solari and Elias joined hands, and for the first time, they let go. Of fear, of doubt, of limits. They let the bond consume them. The flames rose, around their bodies, not destroying but transforming. Gold and blue mixed, light and memory fused. And in one flash, they vanished into a beam of pure energy. Outside the palace, the people saw a tower of light shoot into the sky, across oceans, forests, cities. All turned to face it. And then, a wave of warmth swept over them. A feeling that could not be explained. Belonging. Inside the gate chamber, Ashturath screamed. The bonded flame had entered his realm, not as victims but as equals. Inside his mind, Elias and Solari stood side by side, not in their bodies but in the form of soul energy. You tried to destroy the light, Solari said, but it never left. Elias finished. They raised their hands and the full force of their bond exploded outward. The gate shattered. Ashturath was pulled into the collapse. But as he fell, he said one last thing. You may win this world, but the flame has only begun to burn. And then, quiet. The next day, the sky above Nirthala was clear. No more whispers, no more visions. The gate was gone, and in its place, two glowing figures floated down from the sky. Solari and Elias. Alive. Changed. The people knelt. The queen stepped forward, tears in her eyes. My daughter, she whispered. My son. Solari smiled for the first time in years and said, not rulers, not gods, just two people who refused to break.